theology and worship cannot be separated. Theology informs worship, and in the same way, worship helps form our theology. It's a circular thing in which theology and worship are both present. You can't say you have one particular theology and then worship in another way. In fact, liturgical theology is a way of approaching finding out what a person believes or shaping what a person believes through observing worship. So the two are wedded together, and there shouldn't even be an attempt to divorce them. So good worship will require good theology and will inspire good theology, and it just keeps going around and around. In that Introduction to Christian Worship course, we will study the biblical and historical aspects of Christian worship. We will study the current situation that worship is in our churches. In some, it's a point of conflict. In others, it's a point. In some churches, it's a point of division. But it doesn't have to be that. In fact, worship can be the place where the community comes together, old and young. These sort of separations that we're coming up with, this segmentation and segregation in worship, it shouldn't be and doesn't have to be. So again, in our worship class, we study the biblical foundations, the historical foundations. We study the current atmosphere in Christian worship. And then we study the very practical idea of how do you plan worship and lead worship. It's not a music course. Music is a part of it. You can't discuss worship without discussing music. But music is not just worship is not just the music. Worship is not just the preaching. It is all of that coming together. And we'll spend a great deal of time in our worship classes talking about why we do what we do in worship planning. And then once that plan is together, how does that translate into Sunday morning actually leading the congregation in worship? I teach a theological capstone that I call the Soul of Ministry. In that course, we study what it is that will keep us alive and well in the ministry. What will cause us to stay happy in the ministry, if you will, and see it as something that's energizing rather than depleting. Well, that, I think, the soul of ministry, what will keep it alive and well, is getting back in touch with our call. Getting back in touch with that call that we said yes to. What was it that we meant when we said, yes, I will give my life to Christian ministry? What was the question and the answer? What was the engagement with God? If we can remember what that was and where inside us, if you will, that it took place, then all we have to do is to learn how to go back there. Where is that place inside us that the call was recognized and acknowledged? How do you get back to that place? Why would you get back to that place? You get back there to keep you from burning out. So I think the soul of ministry is staying in touch with your call. And we spend a semester talking about how you stay in touch with your call.